Welcome to The Reality of Prayer, Part 2. Is it popular? Are there studies?
Well, what is prayer and how popular or real is it?
Thank you again, Random Voice of Questions. I do appreciate you chiming in there and giving me that leading question. Prayer is often mistaken as just a request, a demand for some personal or selfish reason. Oftentimes you hear people just saying, Lord, give me this, or Lord, do this for me, or Lord, I want this, or, like we said, GD, and then insert name of person, place, or thing. This, I think, might be a big reason that some people do not believe in prayer or the power of prayer. And, you see sometimes in the comments on social media and other things where when you say, my thoughts are with you, my prayers are with you, you're in my prayers when something happens. And sometimes people say, prayers are worthless. Don't send me your prayers. Your thoughts and prayers mean nothing. They don't help. That is an absolute lie. I can tell you that for certainty that is a lie. As we get on later in this episode, I give you some examples, like I said, of showing that prayer is real. And then I'll tell you a real life example that I experienced where I know prayer and miracles are real. But also things that I've been through and my family have been through, especially recently in the last 2 years, I can tell you that thoughts and prayers mean a lot, and they do help. So if anybody tells you that thoughts and prayers are worthless and they don't help, they are lying to you. And they are stuck in looking for the negativity and the fear and the hopelessness and the damnation of this life and good things in this life. So now I just went to where Random Voice of Reason said not go. Put your head in the clouds. I lost my place. But that's okay, because I think that was needed to be said. What was I saying again? Oh yeah, about why people don't like prayer. Some people may not. Like I said, it sounds like a self-centered demand when you just say, Lord, do this for me, or Lord, I want this, give me this. It should be, Lord, whatever your will is, your will be done. But it does make people sound like takers rather than givers, doesn't it? And like I said, although this is prayer, it is a form of communication. I don't think that type of prayer is always proper prayer. Now, here's an interesting fun fact for you. The Hebrew word for prayer is tefillah. And I believe I've said that right, but I'll have the spelling on the screen there for you. Which means attachment. So prayer is just you attaching your information, your request, your good words, your love and compassion for somebody through your words in a form of communication to God. Now, like I said, if we said prayer is nothing more than a form of communication, I want to get that out there so you know. You remember that. And prayer is a way of communicating and connecting with God, or like I said, again, as some people say, higher power, Mother Nature, universe, etc. I don't agree with those, but, to each their own. It's how a religious person connects to God and prays to God, and it's how a non-religious person unwittingly communicates to God. Prayer is a linear conversation. Linear means one-sided. It's kind of like this podcast. Like if you're watching this video, I'm speaking to you, but there is no way you can directly communicate back to me in the same time. So that's linear. I'm speaking to you, and although you can leave comments, it's not a direct communication at that same time back to me. So that's kind of how I see prayer oftentimes as a linear conversation, because we don't always hear the answer right away, but that's okay.
But is prayer really that popular?
Yeah, it actually is, Random Voice of Questions. For example, like the New York Times, they have listed books on prayer as top sellers for many, 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 many years. And magazines such as Newsweek, they have had cover stories based on the topic of prayer, and television programs. One example is like a Dateline NBC, if you guys ever watched that back in the day. They had entire shows dedicated to the topic of prayer. In fact, although the majority, and I would say super majority, of the original creators and signers and founders of the Constitution in this country, and I'll get into that again in future episodes where I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. But although the majority of them were religious and of the Judeo-Christian belief, there was even one, Benjamin Franklin, who did not consider himself religious at all. And he did not consider himself a Christian, and most people wouldn't if they researched him and read his works and stuff like that. But even Benjamin Franklin was the one who really called for, he understood the importance and power of prayer, and he called for prayer in the chambers of Congress before the sessions. Yes, he's the one that kind of headed that and called for it. So yes, prayer is popular. And as I mentioned earlier, everyone prays, some intentionally, some unintentionally. Some pray prayers of hope and healing and forgiveness and help and positivity and love. And some pray prayers of negativity and fear and damnation.
Who do people pray to?
Well, I thought I went over that multiple times, random voice of questions, but I'll say it again for you. There's God, Yahweh, the capital G God, or there's gods. Some people pray to multiple gods, lowercase g gods, also considered, in my belief and mine, considered idols. And then people pray to Mother Nature, the universe, you name it. I don't think any of those are right, but again, like I said, to each their own. That's one of the great things about living here in America is the freedom of religion. You can believe what you want to believe, at least for now. But I will reiterate to you this again, random voice of questions. Even atheists pray. They say unintentional damning prayers. They send their communication to a higher power requesting negative effects and damnation, especially by saying GD, etc. So, to me, that was very interesting. So, like I said, everyone prays. Some pray every day. Some pray every so often. Some positive, some negative.
So, prayer is real? But does prayer even work?
Yes. Prayer, and my answer to that is yes, prayer is real and it does work. But you have to make up your own mind in this life based on where you choose to receive your education, your experiences, and, whatever your perceptions are. But I do thank you for chiming in a lot today, Random Voice of Questions. That is really nice. Like I said, there's been numerous scientific studies done on prayer. And the two most popular that I put in this paper, like I said, when I wrote it a long time ago, is such as in 1995, there was someone named Elizabeth Targ, and her co-researchers, they performed a scientific study on the power of prayer where they took 20 patients with advanced AIDS who all received the same standard of care. And they divided them evenly. They put 10 in one group, 10 in the other. 10 in one group that received prayer, 10 in another group that did not receive prayer. And the results that they found was that those that did not receive prayer, they spent 68 days in the hospital and were treated for 35 AIDS-related illnesses. But those that received prayer, they spent only 10 days in the hospital and were treated for only 13 different illnesses. To me, that was amazing. It went from 68 days to 10 days, and from 35 AIDS-related illnesses to only 13. Wow. And the other one was in the 1980s. Randolph C. Bird, he did one at the General Medical Center where he took coronary care patients, 393, And he divided them as so. He put 192 that were prayed for and 201 that were not prayed for. And I'm not sure why he divided it that way instead of evenly, but he did. And the results showed that those in the prayer group were less likely to have certain health problems than those not prayed for. And yes, the results were, they didn't reach the double digits in this study, but it was still 5 to 7% less affected by by those illnesses or other issues such as diuretics, heart failure, pneumonia, etc. for those that were prayed for. Those prayed for had 5 to 7% less affected by those illnesses. And I just, again, even though these are old, the results still stand with time. And although we might not be able to control who prays for who in these studies, obviously, to me they were still amazing because they showed that prayer does work.